Trident missile test fails for second time in a row. That's right, our famed nuclear deterrent, the much lauded Trident missile system, has once again failed to actually fire. And it gets worse than that. When they say failed to fire, they don't mean that it didn't actually fire at all. What they actually mean is it fell in the sea a few thousand miles short of where it was supposed to go. Which means that if the Russians ever do nuke any of our cities, and we respond in kind, launching covertly from a hidden position somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean, our own missiles are going to take out Union Street in Plymouth. Brilliant. Okay, all jokes aside, it isn't too bad news because I've been to Plymouth and trust me, it needs a refurb. There's only two places that I would recommend repurposing the bulldozers that the government used to get rid of all the migrant camps in Calais. And that would be A, to scour Middlesbrough clean, and B, to drive them down Union Street. So, I mean, we might save ourselves a few bob. It's just a shame about all the nuclear fallout. There's already plenty of three-legged prostitutes down Union Street. They really don't need to be introducing any more radioactive waste to the drinking water in Plymouth. Trust me. Although, my mate Knocker did once get a hand job off a prosy with 6 fingers and he said it was mint. So, swings and roundabouts. This picture shows an unarmed missile being fired from HMS Vigilant in 2012. The last successful test. Ha! So we haven't successfully launched a Trident missile since 2012. If you haven't been paying attention, that is exactly 12 years ago. Coincidentally, that's about as long as the apparently conservative government's been in charge. So in those 12 years, they haven't just quadrupled the amount of immigrants moving to the country, completely collapsed all of our public services, and increased our tax burdens to boot. But they've managed to ensure that while they were in charge, the once venerated British military became a joke. The Air Force hasn't got any planes, the Navy hasn't got any boats, and our soldiers spend more time daisy chaining round the dance floor in the local gay disco than they do cleaning the weapons. So it's been total collapse on every front from these not actually conservatives for the last 12 years. Good to know. And the alternative's even worse. Happy days. The test firing of a Trident missile from a Royal Navy submarine has failed for the second time in a row. The latest test of the UK's nuclear deterrent was from HMS Vanguard and was seen by Defence Secretary Grant Shapps. He is a proper throbber, Grant Shapps, by the way. I dislike him almost as much as Johnny Mercer, Tobias Elwood and Tom Tuggantwat. In fact, all 4 of them, You know, there's also 4 of the Teletubbies. Put them in charge. I'd rather see them 4 running the British military than those aforementioned allegedly conservative politicians. Mr. Shapps said he had absolute confidence in Trident submarines. How can you have absolute confidence when it hasn't fired for 12 years and every time you test it, the missile drops in the sea 200 feet away? You absolute log. I wouldn't let Grant Shapps run me a bath. British tests of Trident missiles are rare, not least because of the cost. Each missile is worth around £17 million. 17 million quid. And it's about as much use as a nun's baps. What's the point? 17 million quid and it doesn't fire. It doesn't launch. And on the rare occasions it does launch, it drops the nuke 20 foot in front of the submarine. Bargain, that, innit? It's almost as bad as our last man-portable air defence system, Blowpipe. I don't know if any of you lot watching this are veterans, but it was legendarily bad. Apparently we launched 95 of them during the Falklands, and I think about 4 of them hit the targets, and only when they were either parked up or barely moving. The former Brigadier General of the Royal Marines once described Blowpipe as being so bad it was like trying to shoot pheasant with a drain pipe. Right, that's a quote. Apparently we also sent some to the Mujahideen when they were fighting the Soviets in Afghanistan, and every one of them came to the inevitable conclusion that the kit we were using would have been branded subpar in 1896. If we armed the Redcoats with Blowpipe and Trident nuclear missiles, we would have lost the Napoleonic Wars. That is how incompetent our leaders are. What is Trident and how does it work? I can answer that. It's a pile of shite and it doesn't work. Supposed to be a nuclear missile system, but it's not intercontinental. It's not even inter-county. If you stuck one in your duck pond and tried to launch it into your neighbour's back garden, you'd miss. The submarine has just had a 7-year refit. My God. Every time I try to get into my flow and read the story, it just gets worse. just gets worse. It's just had a 7-year refit. Did all of that get spent refitting the Brigadier's kitchen? Is that where it went? Did the Sea Lord coincidentally get a brand new 3-piece suite in the last 7 years by chance? Did he? What they're spending the money on? The test reaffirmed the effectiveness of the UK's nuclear deterrent. I don't even know what to say. Total failure, if you're a politician, total utter failure confirms the effectiveness of something. All right? If you hired a personal trainer and 6 months later you were 4 stone heavier, had more chins than the Chinese phone book, and couldn't lift your leg above waist height without breaking into a sweat, would you have absolute confidence in your personal trainer, would you? Because apparently politicians would. It's like Joe Biden saying the border's perfectly fine and there's no crisis when 10 million plus unvetted men have crossed the border in the last 2 years. These people speak another language. As I keep saying, up is down and left is right to these lunatics. On this occasion, an anomaly did occur, but Trident remains effective, dependable and formidable. The missile was supposed to have flown several thousand miles before landing harmlessly in the Atlantic between Brazil and West Africa. Instead, it dropped into the ocean near to where it landed. I think we could stop there, ladies and gentlemen. We could just stop there, can't we? It's only going to be me reading you more quotes from politicians saying, the more it fails, the better it is. The more incompetent and stupid and brain dead and arrogant and corrupt our dirty, slimy, ratbag politicians are, the better they are. Yeah, that's how it works. Welcome to Political Machinations 101. The harder you fail, the more you spend, the more you waste, the better you're succeeding. I cannot wrap my head around it, and if you can, please enlighten me. All right, that'll have to do you for today. I've got work to do. Thanks for listening. But as always, let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you all very soon. Okay? Toodle pip. Cheers.